Hi, my friend, Mike Kruzich here, and today I know, it's been a long time since I've posted a YouTube video. Forgive me, but things have been crazy, super crazy, and here in a minute you're going to see why, okay? And so the treat we have going on here today, the video we have, is actually going to be a video that I did with one of my top agents who went from homeless to now. Just last week, he wrote over 8,000, almost 9,000 in annualized premium, all over the phone, okay, from anywhere in the world with the internet connection. And guess what? He did that with zero lead cost, without buying leads, without making a lead vendor rich or making an IMO rich, all right? So if you've ever been interested in telesales, or maybe you just hate buying leads, or maybe you just want your freedom back, your time back, so that you can spend more time with family and friends, all right? I want you to watch this video, all right? And go ahead and stay until the end, okay? Because you are going to get one little bonus, all right, just for staying until the end, all right? So go ahead and smash that thumbs up button if you like the video, and subscribe if you like the content. You can always take it back. Let's just get to the video, all right?
As briefly as possible, you know, I got into insurance really out of a desperate situation in my life. I had recently started the process of a divorce, and my family had fallen apart. And I, at the time, got into insurance because I needed to find something that I could work in that would allow me to have a flexible schedule, but still make really good money. You know, I used to own a personal training studio, and I lost my studio in the midst of the divorce. And so at the time when I, you know, answered a Craigslist ad or however it happened, you know, I was homeless. I was literally living in my car and looking for something that I could change my life. And as probably most people know who are on this call, who've done insurance for a while, you know, it sounds incredibly exciting at first. You can make so much money and it's going to be amazing. What they don't tell you is how much money you have to spend on leads and how much time you have to spend driving from house to house, knocking on doors. And that stuff is incredibly discouraging. It can be incredibly discouraging, especially when you see a $65 lead cost for mortgage protection insurance leads, right? And so that's what I started with. I started with mortgage protection, and it was the struggles with mortgage protection, as all you guys know who've done it, is that you're working with clients who are usually both of them are working, and you are limited in the number of appointments that you can run, because most of the time you're running those appointments, you know, after 6 o'clock at night when they get back home from work, and you're trying to do knees-to-knees presentations. And so, you know, in a good week, I was trying to schedule 10 to 12 appointments every single week. And, you know, this is what's great about being a salesperson, is that sales is a numbers game. And so if I wanted to make twice as much money, you know, guess what? I needed to schedule twice as many appointments. It's pretty simple math. And so I started kind of down this path of hearing about final expense. And, oh, you're going to run appointments during the day. You can run tons of appointments. And that's exactly what I did. So I switched to a different IMO that did final expense. And I was like, oh, my goodness, I have this huge commission on my contract, and this is going to be amazing. I can run tons of appointments. So what you don't hear a lot about is you still got a lead cost, maybe not as high, but I was paying, you know, between $25 and $30 for leads. I was able to run a whole lot more appointments for sure, but I was, you know, running a 10 and 12-hour day. You know, still had a lot of no-shows. You know, still sometimes going into people's houses who are certainly into some desperate financial situations, and there was definitely some toughness there that happened for sure. And that's when I met Michael. I'd considered working for Michael as a final expense agent because honestly it was about making more money. I wanted to go to a different agency that would give me a better contract. I thought when I went from a 60% contract to an 80% contract, you know, I thought I was going to have this money raining from the sky, and he offered me even a better contract. And so that's how I met Michael, and we hit it off immediately. And then my life kind of took a turn. And I am going to tell this not because I'm here to brag. I want to tell this because if coming from living in my car and then listening to the next chapter of my story here, I can have success doing Aon Insurance's, sales methodology or sales process, however you want to call it, anybody can do it, right? Because of the way my divorce started happening and everything that was associated with it, I was convicted of a crime and I went to jail. And I was, working with Michael beforehand, and I was totally surprised that I got convicted. I had no idea that it was going to happen. And the good news is, I have an appeal that looks like it's going really well. But the truth of the matter is, I was convicted of a crime and I went to jail for 90 days. And it put a huge screeching halt on everything that I felt like I was building with Michael and the telesales model of selling term life insurance products. And so I was in jail for 90 days. And sure enough, I come out of jail and I have a really difficult time contracting because now I'm recently out of jail. I'm a felon. I'm having to worry about whether or not the Virginia Insurance Commission was going to allow me to maintain my license or keep my license. And so, excuse me. And so at the end of the day, I was starting really at less than ground zero. And I got out of jail last December. And so this is 2019 at the time of this, call. So 2018, I got out of jail December 6th. And I was desperately trying to find a way to make a living for myself and for my family. And I reached out to Michael and I told him, I said, hey, man, if you will have faith in me and you will stick it out with me, I will make sure that you don't regret it. And so, I worked with the Insurance Commission. They allowed me to keep my license. And then Michael and I kind of worked together to try to find a company that would contract me. And so literally I have one contract. I sell exclusively Mutual of Omaha Insurance, and they were the ones who gave me a shot and allowed me to contract. And so that's what I sell. So, I sell one carrier, basically one or two products with that carrier, and that's it. And this is what I do full time. And while I was waiting for my insurance license to come back, I was actually working at this call center, and I was making, $9 an hour, like $300 a week, just in a terrible situation, waiting for it to happen. And so officially last week, the beginning of April, I quit that job, and I went all in and started working for Aon in this sales process. And I've been on the boards a little bit before this, of course, but just was waiting, kind of like that racehorse who was eager, at the gates. And when I got that contract and Michael said, you're good to go, man, I hit the ground running. And so I did hire a VA and last week to dial, and I got a second seat on the dialer, and it went really bad. It went really bad. The VA did not. I think the VA got 2 leads the whole week, something like that, and I had to fire him and had to hire a second VA. So, it's not like it was just this miraculous moment where I woke up one day and suddenly money started raining from the sky. That's not at all what happened. I did hire a VA, and we had some challenges. It wasn't a great hire. That's my bad. Oopsie poopsie. So I hired another one. But all along the way, I was dialing as well, okay? And so the leads that I was generating and the few leads that my first VA was generating, and then, of course, my second VA generated, I started running those appointments. And we'll get back to that in just a minute. But I want to encourage everyone that's on this call or that's going to listen to this. I am a guy who a year ago was homeless, living in my car. 3 months ago, I was in jail. And this week, I submitted almost $9,000 of AP. Now, you need to put that into perspective, what that means, not only for me, but for my family, that no matter what your contract looks like for commission, I don't care what it looks like, if you submit $9,000 of AP, you're doing pretty decent, right? And I've been doing the Aon insurance system for the last 2 weeks. That's it. I went all in and submitted almost $9,000 of AP, okay? So I'm sure, there's going to be some questions here. I'm super excited to answer questions, but I think that the thing that is important to understand is that sales is a numbers game. And just like I did when I went for mortgage protection and I was running 10 appointments a week, and then I went to final expense and I was running 20 to 30 appointments a week, on Tuesday of next week, I have 10 appointments scheduled on my calendar for just Tuesday alone. I generated, between my assistant and I today, we generated 31 appointments for next week. And literally, I'm not special. I'm definitely not the smartest guy in the room. I'm certainly, not the squeakiest clean record in the room either. But I'm crushing it. And I'm crushing it because it allows us to leverage what is great about sales, and that is the numbers. We can generate leads for free. My lead cost on a $9,000 AP, even if I factor in the cost of my virtual assistant, is less than $300. And that's, honestly, it's the cost of my virtual assistant. And you can tell, they didn't schedule or they didn't get that many leads for me, right? So it's one thing to make a lot of money. It's another thing to keep a lot of money. When I owned a gym, I had a business coach once tell me that gross income feeds the ego, net income feeds the family. And I had a lot of money going out in rent and overheads and all that stuff. And with this system, my overhead is a dialer. I pay for a Calendly account for scheduling appointments. I think that's $15 a month. I pay for the Autoresponder. I think that's, $10, $12 a month, something like that. So we're at a whopping, $80, $90 so far per month. I pay for a phone.com. I think that's $10 a month. So we're at $100 per month. And then, and then my VA cost. So as far as my ability to have net profit, this opportunity blows all that away, by far. Now, I did have a conversation with Michael, and what I wanted to share today is kind of how I want to do this exactly so that you guys can yield from this conversation an opportunity next week to go into next week and double or triple the amount of AP that you guys write into next week. And this is how I do it. There's a book, and I'm going to butcher the name of this book, but I believe it is like how I pulled myself out of poverty into richness with sales or something of that nature. And every time I'm in the car, and I will find the exact name of the book, and I'll send it to you guys. But every time I'm in the car, no matter where I am driving, it is on Audible, and I listen to it all the time. And it's really a sales book that talks about how you can get better at sales. And one of the first lessons in that is never do a sales meeting without an appointment, right? And so the only tweak, if you will, that I've really made to the system here that Michael has presented us is that I don't count it as a lead unless I schedule it onto my calendar and we actually have a conversation, and we know that we're going to have a conversation. So I schedule it just like I would have if I was doing a final expense appointment or a mortgage protection appointment. I schedule it on my calendar. So when I say to you guys today that I, along with my agent or my virtual assistant today, scheduled 31, or we got 31 leads, what I mean by that is we scheduled 31 appointments into next week, just today. And I'm talking about I put it in my calendar, they put it in their calendar, I send them a text message reminder, I send them an email, I send them a confirmation, you know, and right now the numbers look like about a little less than 20% of them no show, but that means 80% of my appointments are actually showing up to the appointment ready to talk about insurance, and I close most of my policies on the first call. Now, if someone doesn't show up to that call, of course, I'm going to reschedule them. I usually reschedule them within 3 days, and I'm going to just keep trying to call them. I'm going to follow up just exactly like Michael has taught us. But I'm trying to sell it on that first call. I schedule it. If they say, oh, you know, I don't want to put it on the calendar, just go ahead and send me an email, and I'll answer you back. You know, I'll shoot you an email back if I like your price. You know, I straight up tell them, I'm not the right fit for you, and I move on. I'm not here to put tons of time and energy into people who don't want to work with me. And I think one of the best things that Michael said when you're going through the training is that our business model is knocking over rocks and picking up gold pieces, right? Just kick out the rocks out of your way and pick up the gold pieces. And I get it, guys, or ladies and gentlemen. I get it. It can feel very scary to turn someone away who is a lead. But when you generate leads for free and you can generate them at scale, you can be selective. You can work with people that you want to work with, who have an easy, pleasant disposition, who are serious about getting a quote and wanting to have a policy put in place, so that you're not having a conversation with someone who's a bear to deal with and that you have to call 15 times finally for them to tell you that they don't want to actually do anything, right? So deal with the gold. Michael and I were actually talking before getting on this call, and I actually generated a lead for a gentleman who is an older guy who really needs a final expense insurance policy. And luckily, because of the great agents that we have involved at Aon, I was able to reach out to Carlos, and he plugged me over to Yvonne, and Yvonne is going to take care of that. And so I'm just going to, you know, let Yvonne run with that and bless her, you know. But at the end of the day, it's okay for me to send that policy away because I'm not here to hunt squirrels. I'm here to hunt deer, right? And I'm looking for people who are 55 and under, who are easy to write policies for, that I don't have to spend a tremendous amount of time in underwriting, so that way, ultimately, I'm making money for myself and my family, because there's only one thing that we don't have more of, and obviously that's time. You know, I can't make more time every day, and with the ability to generate 30 appointments in a day, I have to be selective with the people that I'm people that I'm sitting down with and talking to, okay? So there is a little question that I've added to the bottom of the script that you can find at Aon University, and it literally, and I've got the script right here, you know, and I'm going to go over a couple of tips here in just a second, but, you know, I literally ask, hey, you got your calendar, you know, or I used to have it as, you got your calendar handy, when's a good time for me to call you back to go over your quote, morning or afternoon? Now I ask that question, I've adjusted into my script, and say, hey, you know, I'm going to give you a call to go over your quote. What's a better time for you, morning or afternoon? I do not assume a no. I don't give them the option for a yes or a no. I'm asking the question, assuming that they're going to get on the call with me because they're serious. They're serious about getting insurance. And so I ask them, you know, hey, I'm going to call you to go over this quote. When's a good time for me to do that, morning or afternoon? And then I schedule it on the calendar. Bada bing, bada boom, Bob's your uncle. Now I have an appointment. I confirm the time. I said, great, you know, I'm going to send you out a quote for $300,000, and we're going to talk next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. All right? Okay, great. Have a great day. And then I schedule an appointment. And I think that right there, if you guys will start implementing that into your own sales process, will immediately impact how much AP you write sooner rather than later. I think, you know, I also, another tip here that I do is I ask the question, I turn every lead that I get, I try to turn it into 2. And so the way I do that is I ask the question, hey, lastly, I'm going to go ahead and send you a quote for your spouse or partner. What's their name? I think the original script is a little bit like, would you like a quote for your spouse or partner, something of that nature? And again, from the very beginning of the call, I am assuming the close right from the very beginning. So I'm assuming they have a spouse. I'm assuming that they want a quote for that spouse. And I just make it very simple. You know, I'm going to go ahead and send you out a quote for your spouse or partner. What's their name? And if I literally get one of 2 answers. Either one is I don't have a spouse, or 2, it's Susan, or whatever their name is, right? And then I follow up with, you know, what's their age, and do they smoke? I don't even ask them what to quote the amount is for quoting, because I'm just going to assume that I'm going to write them a quote for the exact same amount that I wrote the first person a quote for. It just makes the process very seamless and painless, and I've just turned that one lead into 2 leads. And this week, I started, and I'm looking up my iPipeline here. I started 8 applications this week, and 4 of them are submitted and good to go. And then I have one that I'm going to be handing off to Yvonne, and that one's already sold. So, you know, that's 5 cases that that is going to be sold this week. And again, I started last week. Not like a rock star. I did not start like last week as a shooting star, where my first day in, I wrote $50,000 of insurance or something crazy. You know, I had a tough first week because my VA was not generating leads, and so I had to get better at training and, you know, use the systems that Michael has given us to use that for training as well. And, you know, obviously today you can see that today we generated 31 appointments into next week. So I think, you know, the final tip that I would make is I tried to do this. You know, I studied the script. I felt very comfortable with the script. You know, I felt like I could nail, you know, hey, John, this is Mark. Did I catch you at a bad time? You know, I felt like I could nail that, you know, and all that stuff. The moment I printed out the script and put it next to me, it totally changed the game for me. I didn't have any flub-ups. I wasn't nervous. I just read it right off the script. Even though I was confident and feeling good with the script, just having that there certainly helped a ton. I'm a little bit old school, I guess, in that when someone says that they want to lead, I've got a legal pad next to me, and I write their information out on the legal pad. I schedule into my calendar, and I will send out all my quotes kind of at the end of my calling block. So I generally do a 4-hour calling block, and about 3.5 hours in, I will stop, and then I will do 30 minutes of just actually sending out all the quotes. And that's how I train my VA as well, because I do believe in batching. I think that's a really helpful hint as well, is I will call, and I will just power through for 3.5 hours, just, you know, generate the lead, write down the information on my legal pad, schedule them, move on. Generate, write it down, schedule them, move on. And then towards the end of that block, I'll send out all the quotes and emails at that time. And so that's how I do that. And so me and my assistant are doing incredibly well. My assistant is amazing. And no, I do not pay her a whole lot of money. I do not pay her a lot of money. And so I guess those are really the tips that I could make for you guys is have your script. It's super important. Tweak that one little line in the script. Instead of asking if they would want a quote, assume they want a quote for their spouse. And then lastly, schedule it. Instead of it being just a lead, schedule that as an appointment. And, you know, now all of a sudden someone has got an email. They've got text reminders telling them they've got an appointment with you. They've got an email reminder telling them they got an appointment with you. I mean, it just makes sense that someone's going to be far more ready and able to make that decision and submit an application in that meeting. And guys, I literally have just one carrier. I have one carrier, and I sell all my policies so far have been simplified issue term life products. You know, I do have a contract to do fully underwritten products as well, and that's great. But, you know, obviously there's a better contract value there, of course, with simplified issue. And so if it makes sense for the client, I write that. But all of them have been simplified issue. And that helps for sure. And it's almost all of them have been in one call. One call. The ones that wasn't in one call, it was in 2 calls. And that was within 3 days. So I don't want to keep rambling on forever and ever and ever. But if anyone's got questions or
that's awesome.
No, that's awesome stuff, man.
That's really awesome stuff.
That's really awesome stuff. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us and everything. That I think this is the main thing is going to inspire everybody, right? Inspire those that may not believe in themselves, or maybe they believe that someone else can do it, but I can't.
That's right.
You know,
if you can do it, anybody
can do it, right? And we really believe that anybody in America, you know, can get on the dialer and work the system and make money.
That's right.
But it's like it's a wheelbarrow, right? If you don't push the wheelbarrow, you know, it won't work.
Yeah, and that's right. I guess I never thought myself would be that person that said, hey, if I can do it, anyone can do it. But I mean, that's the truth, right? I mean, I have one contract. I got my license or kept my license by the skin of my teeth. I am able to write literally 1 or 2 products, but I have work ethic. I will probably outwork anyone on the team, right? And that's kind of where I have to make up for it, because I am swinging with my back against the wall. And that's a great place to be in. You know, it's the best place to be in, right? The best place to be in is knowing I only have one direction to go, and that's out in front of me. And that's you know, I can't stress enough, you know, like sometimes I hear people on the Slack environment, or just not just in Slack, but just everywhere in life, right, and who are, you know, so down on themselves or down on other people. And I would just have to caution everyone who's listening to this call, right? I have to caution you. Be careful who you allow to take up residence in your head. Because at the end of the day, if you already have some head trash in there that you need to, like, you know, be pushing out to build your own confidence, because I agree 100% with Michael that it's really easy to get down on yourself and believe, oh, there's no way I can do this. The dialing is super hard. There's just, you know, those things, if you let other people kind of get in there and fan that flame of doubt, it will grow so big that it will be hard to put out, right? Be careful who you allow in your head. I can't stress that enough. You know, I had, you know, I don't mean to sound weird here, but my dad was a football coach, and, you know, he would tell this story about the lobster. And, Michael, if you will indulge me for like 2 minutes, I want to tell the lobster story here, okay?
Sure.
So, you know, everyone has seen or probably has seen these huge 5-pound monster, like Maine lobsters, right? But most people don't realize that, you know, these monster lobsters, they start off as really these squishy little creatures inside a very hard outer shell that does not grow. That shell doesn't move, right? That's what protects that little squishy animal inside, right? So how does it go from such a small little creature to this really big 5-pound monster that we see on TV, right? Well, what happens is, as that squishy little creature on the inside gets bigger, it starts to push against the shell, right? It gets uncomfortable, and it then goes underneath a rock. It casts off that shell, uses kind of the rock for protection while it's growing a bigger, roomier shell, and then comes out. And now it has more room to grow. And then, you know, it repeats that process over and over again. So what's the moral of this story? The signal for that lobster to grow was that he was uncomfortable, right? He got uncomfortable. And because he got uncomfortable, he had to go cast that old way off and then grow into the new way, right? Grow into his new shell. And honestly, if being on the dialer makes you uncomfortable, good. That's great. You're growing. Yes, right? If putting in an application makes you uncomfortable because you don't know what you're doing, good. You're growing. If you have to call underwriting 15 times like I did to figure out what the heckaloo to do, good. You are growing. Right. And that's okay, right? Because when you can generate leads for free and you can just one and done and move on to the next call, your exposure or risk is very small. So good. Be a little uncomfortable. It's okay.
Nothing to lose, right?
Nothing to lose, right?
Nothing to lose. And in that scenario where that lobster moves underneath the rock and has to get a little protection from the rock before it grows, that's what the Aon team is for. That's why we're all here, right? To love on each other, to encourage each other, to motivate each other, right? Because at the end of the day, while you're growing, we are all growing. It's okay to be a little uncomfortable. So I would challenge you, if you're not uncomfortable in your career, are you growing? Right? Michael challenged me today before I got on this call while I was sitting here talking about, handing off a sale to another agent because I didn't have something that I could write for that person. I don't have a contract for final expense. And, what he said is, in essence, that's okay. Move on to the next lead. You've got so many that's going on your calendar. Hunt deer, not squirrels. Man, awesome. Thank you. Right? Because I needed to grow. And so now when I have a lead come in that's, over 55 and not really a great fit for what it is that I want to do, I'm going to either hand them off or just one and done, move on. Because the next lead is right on the phone in 2 minutes. It's right on the phone in 2 minutes. Right? So if anyone has any questions, I'm available when I'm not doing appointments and all that stuff. I will respond to you as quick as I can. If you have questions here on the call, by all means, I'd love to answer those. But that's really it. There's nothing to it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
This is
definitely a call that I'm going to have to listen to about 5 times. So many gold nuggets, I can't pick them all up in one handful.
I appreciate that, Michael. Thank you.
Excuse me. Before we get into the
Q&A, really quick, can I ask you to share with everybody, what does it mean to you to be able to work from home? Or anywhere, right? With your family situation right now.
Right. Man, Michael, it's so unfair. I don't want to get emotional, but, this opportunity has and will change the trajectory of my life and my family. And I don't mean that in a cliche or light way. Being able to work from home allows me the ability to maximize my schedule to earn a very, very good income and maximize the amount of time that I get with my children, because I'm still rebuilding that relationship with my children and going through a very, very nasty divorce and custody fight. On Monday, as we speak, I'm going to court for another custody court date. And this opportunity has literally allowed me to be able to go into court and say, I can provide for my children, I can create a safe environment for them, and man, any boo-boo, I can spend more time with them and make more money than their mama can, right? Not that I'm petty. Not that I'm petty, but I'm just saying, And so it's, for me, it allows, look, Michael, you know this to be true, and I think everyone on the phone here knows this to be true. How many times have we heard you know, the dream job, this dream lifestyle is to be able to work from home, make your own schedule, make $100,000 plus. Like literally we're in the second week of April. If I didn't write another policy for the whole rest of the month and I did this every month, I'd make more than $100,000, right? I mean, that's easy math, you know, 9,000 times 12. Do the math. It's pretty good, you know. I'll make $100,000 a year if I stopped working right now and for the rest of the month, and I did this every month, right? And so this is like the dream job. This is what everyone talks about wanting. Maximum flexibility, make your own hours, be your own boss, work from home, the park, the beach, and I've done all of those. I've called from the beach, I've called from my park, I've called from my house, right? Like, I do all of them. And if you have kids, and you know, Michael, you got a little thing right there at home, right? You know, if you've got kids, there is nothing better than what is going on right now with this insurance opportunity. Nothing. I mean, and I feel like I tried them all. You know what I mean? In a desperate attempt to try to change my situation, I was doing anything because what I knew was I was willing to put in the work, and what God blessed me with was someone like Michael to put the right system in front of me, and that's all I needed, right? And then basically I'm kind of pushing Michael out of the way, like, dude, get out of my way, let's go. you know, I mean, that's what I needed, and I'm so incredibly blessed to have this because this wasn't a get-rich-quick online, you know, little course or whatever. I mean, it is work, yes, right? I'm growing. I'm just like that little lobster trying to turn into a 5-pound behemoth, right? I'm growing. At the end of the day, we have the right opportunity for me to grow. And, man, I'm so thankful, Michael. I just can't say enough about your leadership. And I've never met someone in all the IMOs that I've dealt with and all of the insurance agents that I've dealt with who tried to put their hand elbow deep in my pocket. I've never met someone or worked with someone who genuinely was open to other ideas, sincerely was interested in the success of their agents, always bending over backwards to ensure that he was doing everything possible to make their life easier. I mean, the amount of money and resources that Michael has invested in the dialer, the data, the technology, the systems, the training, the recruiting, the support, it's insane. It's insane. And all you have to do is pick it up, get on the dialer, and grow. Woo! That's it. That's all you got to do. I mean, wow, that's it. Like a month from now, I'm going to be doing, you know, $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 a week. I do not doubt it. I do not doubt it. That's $20,000, $30,000 a month, $40,000 a month.
That's awesome.
Right? So I just, if you're on this call, right, and you're like, man, why am I not having success? I challenge you right now, take a screenshot of the number of dials that you did on the call, on the dialer today. Send it to me. And if you're not putting in the dials, like that's step number one. If you are putting in the dials, work with your coach to get your opening lines right. Spend time on the Aon University, going over the script, listening to that, and this may sound very odd, I pay for this. I pay my assistant every morning at 7:45 to log in and watch the 2 videos on Aon University. One is how to nail your opening statement, and the other one is going over the script. She watches it every single day, and I pay her to do it. That's how important it is. She watches it every day. She logs in. She watches those 2 every day. Right? Like, it's so impactful. I can see she generates more leads in the morning than she does in the afternoon. So today we had a little experiment, and it's a Friday afternoon now, not one that I would say typically is the most ideal time to generate leads. And so I made her come back from her lunch break and do the exact same thing. Spend 15 minutes going over those 2 videos, and guess what? She made more leads in the afternoon than she's done before, right? Just keeping your skill set sharp is so incredibly important, right? It's incredibly important. So I spend a half hour of her time every day now going over those 2 videos.
It's so simple, but
it's phenomenal.
I mean,
phenomenal.
But we see it everywhere, right? Like, I think sometimes in the desire to create an opportunity to work from home, work in your underwear, you know, all that other stuff, which, by the way, guys, if you've ever worked in your underwear, it's really not that great. It's not good, you know. I did it for a day just to see. It ain't good. But if in the desire for that opportunity, I think we kind of lose sight of the fact that you are a professional. Name another profession that's making $200,000+ a year. You know, name a professional who's, you know, not taking their job seriously, who's making that kind of money. Probably not very many, right? Probably not very many. So, you know, I take what I do very seriously. I mean, if you look at a football game, since my dad was a football coach and I played college ball. If you look at a football game, what do they do before the game, Michael? Do you know what they do before the game? I don't know if you're a football guy, but they warm up, right? You see the quarterback, he goes out there and he throws the ball, right? The kicker kicks, receivers receive, blockers block. They run routes and they warm up by practicing. Then they go play a half. They go to the half. They come back out. What do? They do it all over again.
Right.
They warm back up and they get their skill set right back to where it needs to be to play the next half of the game, right? So, you know, I would challenge you, you know, put in the time on the dialer, and if you're not getting the success that you want off that time on the dialer, reach out to Michael, reach out to your coach, send me a message, whatever it is that you feel like you need to do, because if you're growing, you will not find a better place to have someone who's got your back than in Michael, right? Like Michael is so patient that he waited patiently with a guy who went to jail, came back, was desperately trying to keep his license, and then trying to find a contract. And that's how I'm on this call today. The whole time he was patiently waiting with me and working with me. So if you're in the process of growing, there's no better place than where you are right now, okay? Gosh, Michael, I don't know. You got anything else? Like you got another question that I can answer?
Well, I appreciate the kind words, man.
You know, this is the type
of opportunity that we just want to share to everybody, and I've received a lot of seconds in my life, and you know,
I believe that
everybody deserves a second chance, a third, and a fourth, and a fifth. And,
amen.
You know, no matter what. But anyway, lastly, the last question I wanted to ask you, when we were talking the other day, you were talking, and I love what you were saying about, it kind of went with your mindset and how you kind of go about certain calls. And the example you gave me was with the coach.
I do remember that.
Share that really quick?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will try to keep it clean. Look, I love Jesus, but I need Jesus in my life because I'm definitely not perfect, right? So I'll keep it clean. But so you know, I was on this call with this guy he's a basketball coach. He coaches an AAU basketball team, and they're actually going down to a tournament this weekend, and you know all this other stuff. And I'm really excited for him and his team, right? And so, you know, I was on the call with them and doing what I normally do. You know, I got on the phone and I said, you know, hey, Richard, you know, that's the name that I had. Hey, Richard, this is Mark. Did I catch you at a bad time? You know, the whole thing. And so we started the process. He said, yeah, I'll take a quote and whatnot. And I got to my soon-to-be world-famous Teddy question of, hey, when's a good time for me to go over this quote with you, morning or afternoon? And he started giving me some guff, you know, and he started kind of like, not wanting to actually put down anything and schedule it, right? And I said, whoa, hey, buddy, don't make me to be the a-hole, right? And I didn't say a-hole, but don't make me to be the a-hole here, okay? You're the one who wants a quote. If you're serious about getting a quote, let's have a conversation about it. Don't make me be the guy who's got to sit here and chase you like some lovesick puppy to have a conversation with you. Do you want a quote or do you not want a quote? Pretty simple. And he started laughing, right? He knew exactly what he was doing, and I called him on it. So guess what? We scheduled it, and that's actually going to be the lead that I'm handing off to Yvonne, right? It was a great reminder for me that, hey, the next call could be a lead, and it literally is sometimes. The next call can be a lead. Do not allow someone to take control of the most precious resource that you have and waste it, and that is your time. That is your time, right? When you're sitting on this call, you should be getting something from this call, and if I haven't served you, then that's my mistake, right? Hang up the phone, get off the line, get back on the dialer, and start getting to dials, right? If Michael is not serving you on the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday call him on it. He will, right? It's your time, and nothing is more important than your time. And believe you me, when someone takes your freedom from you, it becomes oh so salient, oh so pure how valuable your time is. So I refuse to have a conversation with someone who isn't serious enough about it to schedule it on the calendar. Have a conversation, right? That's all this is, because I know I didn't pay $65 for that lead. You know, Michael and I will laugh about the days when, you know, we would pay $60, $50 for a lead, and you're like, oh, please schedule, please. And I told him a funny story when I was doing final expense insurance, you know, and I wasn't paying $60 for those days. I was paying like $30. When I was doing final expense insurance, I drove out to this person's house like 3 times, and they kept standing me up, you know, and all this other stuff. And I couldn't get them back on the phone. And I literally went to their next door neighbors, and I was like, oh, my goodness, have you seen Joyce? Like, what's going on with Joyce? I've been trying to get a hold of her for the last 3-4 days. Is everything okay? Right? And I ended up selling that lady a policy because, you know, her neighbors started talking to her. Like, hey, you need to get a hold of this Teddy guy. He's coming over to my house. What's going on? Are you okay? You know, like, you really work those leads. You know what I mean? I actually had like a dial tracker, and I would do like the famous 333, right? So I'd pick up the phone, I'd dial it 3 times, then I'd hang up. And I'd pick it up and dial it 3 times, same number, hang up. And I'd pick it up and dial it 3 times, all right? And if they didn't answer in those 9 dials, then I would call that number dialed for that session, and I'd move on to the next number. And so, you know, when you're paying that kind of money for leads, you work those leads, okay? I totally get it. But when you can generate 50 leads in a week, or, you know, even let's say you're paying if you're a newer agent, you're paying $100 for the dialer, $25 a week for the dialer. Then, I mean, you're paying 50 cents for a lead. Like, wow, you know what I mean? That's crazy, right? That's crazy. So, you know, guys, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to own your professionalism and the value that you bring to your clients, right? Right. It's okay to say no to working with someone who's not a good fit for you, right? You know, me and my assistant scheduled 31 appointments so far. I'm about to check in with her while I'm on this call here, just because, you know, she's going to Skype me or whatever. And we scheduled 31 appointments, but we both could have scheduled more. I think she had 3 or 4 today where someone said, yeah, go ahead and send me out that email, but I don't want to schedule anything. I said, great, one and done them. And she just knows. She ones and done them, right? I had the same thing. I had a guy who went through the whole process and gave me all his contact information, and he was like, yeah, I guess you can try to give me a call next Tuesday. I said, whoa, buddy, I got 10 appointments on Tuesday. I think at the time I had like 7. Dude, I got 7 appointments on Tuesday. You're not doing me any favors for me to schedule something on your calendar and you're not going to show up, man. Like, that's not how this works, right? So I just one and done them, moved on. That's it. I just.
That's a liberating feeling, isn't it?
Oh, my goodness. It's such an incredibly amazing feeling to be able to tell someone to take a hike. You know what I mean? It's a great feeling. It's absolutely a great feeling.
Yep.
And that comes, though, obviously it comes because, I'm not paying $70, $60, $50, $30, $20, whatever it is, for a lead, Guys, and I don't know if you know this, but before, and Michael, you know this, but you can buy final expense telephone leads, right? Where they will, I think, sell you the lead. I think the cheapest I've ever gotten it quoted was like $10 to $12 a lead, okay? They were generating, leads and selling them to me for $10 to $12. Man, like now that I see how I could generate leads, I'm like, gee golly, these guys are making a killing selling these $10 leads. And those leads weren't great. I still had to call them up and try to schedule them and all this other stuff, those leads weren't great at all,
What do you think is the main factor between, the process of those lead vendors generating those leads, they're cold calling.
Yes, sir.
Right? And it's not rocket science, right? It's not.
Yeah. What do you think is
what do you think is the main difference between why is this such better quality? The way that you're doing.
Yeah, I think.
We all know this answer, but just for the recording.
Well, gosh, now I'm nervous. I don't know if I know the same answer as you guys know. I told you I'm not the smartest guy in the room, Michael. Don't put me on the spot here. Obviously, you think, I think some of it is because for me, I'm scheduling them, right? I can't stress enough the importance of, when I get on Slack and I tell you guys I generated 10 leads today, those are 10 appointments. That is not 10 people who said, send me out an email. That's not what that is. Those are appointments. I'm like, I think I'm going to start actually calling them what they are to make sure that it's clear. I generated 10 appointments today, 31 appointments today, right? And there is that in and of itself is a game changer. Initially, I thought I was concerned that, if I call the lead, it's going to be a far better quality lead because I'm already building rapport with that person. And so if my VA calls a lead and I have to go in there and run that appointment, it's going to be a much colder lead and it's not going to be as valuable and all this other stuff. And that's just not true, right? Because I've trained her to not put crap leads on my calendar. That's really what it boils down to. When she's only putting people on my calendar who are serious about getting an insurance quote and they want to talk about it and they've got a need, well, then, of course, I get on the phone and I'm my outgoing personality self. I build rapport with them, of course, and I start finding the need and building how much insurance they need, and then we go forward from there. Here's another thing that I think is really important, and I think we probably have all been guilty of this, or if you haven't been, you're a far better person than I am. One of the last appointments, that I generated, I'm still trying to fix it. One of the last appointments that I generated before getting on this call, her name is Jody, and I asked her the question, do you have any coverage currently? If so, how much? She said, I don't even have any insurance. I said, wow, what are you doing, lady? You got to have insurance, And she's like, well, gosh, how much? I said, well, how much do you want to get quoted? And she said, I don't know. How much? How much should I get quoted? So we start having a very brief kind of fact-finding to just determine how much to quote her, okay? And as we were having the conversation, you know, she came up with this number that was like $500,000. And I said, whoa, Jody. Now, sweetheart, I can write you a policy that's $5 million. For me, it's just a pen, but for you, you've got to pay for it, right? Are you sure you need that much coverage? Okay? And as we were going through the numbers, she was totally blown away that I wasn't trying to sell her the biggest policy she could afford. I was solving the problem that she had, right, and what she wanted. Now, luckily for me, you know, I have so many appointments scheduled, I don't have to be the guy who oversells someone, right? Because then the next conversation that I had with Jody was, what are you doing for your retirement? How are you handling your retirement? And we went into a conversation about IUL. So how much more trust does she have with me? Because she knows that I'm not trying to do something that's in my own best interest, but it's also in her best interest, right? We had a great conversation about an IUL, and I can't wait to be able to explore that with her. And I've had several conversations about IULs because, hey, I've got so many appointments coming in, and my appointments are pretty high value that at the end of the day, I can start now instead of shooting, for deer and avoiding squirrels. I'm going to start shooting for moose and avoiding deer, right? And I guess if we're going to continue to use this shooting terminology, you know what I mean? Pretty soon, who knows how big we'll be shooting for, right? So I think it's important to recognize that, you know, the quality of my appointments, whether it be my VA or whether it be me, is largely because I schedule and I don't let people who are not serious on my calendar. That's it. It really is it.
Right. So you have.
You're saying that you have 100% control.
Right. You know,
with the leaders,
all they care about
selling.
That's right.
They could give a crap less.
That's right.
Excuse my French, but they could give a crap less. You know, if that person, was really interested, if that person was just like driving down the road and being like, yeah.
To them
they're like, oh, sweet, I just paid an extra $15-20.
That's right.
And then call that person back and they're going to cuss you out or
that's right.
what have you, right?
That's exactly right.
And that's why 90% of insurance agents fail. Right? But that's another story.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really inspiring, for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And obviously the numbers are just so upside down. And look, I'm a numbers guy. Michael and I have had several conversations, and we both are kind of dorky in that way that we can, just start, talking about, numbers and all this other stuff, average policy size, and it's easy to get into those things, right? But from a very fundamental basis, right, we all understand that if you're spending, $3,000-$4,000 a month in leads, but you're only selling $6,000 a month, what you're really living on is $2,000 a month, right? And this process or this method, puts that whole thing so upside down, it's ridiculous. I'm paying pennies, per day to generate thousands per day in income. And you've got to let that sink in, because if you've done insurance in any other way and this is not lighting your hair on fire, you don't get it yet. You don't get it yet, right? You don't get it yet. If you have a hard time getting it, like get on the phone with Michael or I or Carlos or the tons of good agents that are in this organization, and have them like help you understand it, right? Because I know for a fact that a lot of my problems, you might find this surprising, Michael, a lot of my problems are going away because I'm making money, really good money, And that happens because of this system, right? I'm keeping more of the money I'm making. So that happens.
Right.
And
it's not about just money at the end of the day, right? We're about what money does.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And most circumstances, in this world on planet Earth, money equals freedom.
That's right.
Right. The more money you make, the more freedom, the more opportunities can open up.
That's right.
You know, in your personal life, in your self-development, spiritually.
That's right.
You know, just the impact on the world, you know, in general.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's perfectly well said. Money can buy you freedom. And if you don't think that's true, go make 20 grand and then tell me what your freedom feels like later. you know.
Right. Yeah. So
hey man,
man, this was a great.
This was a great call. Let's read the comments really quick.
Oh, cool. Comments? Yeah.
Carlos
was saying,
you're not a teddy bear.
That's been the best call of the year, hands down.
Absolutely.
Mike is saying, this call is fire, 20 exclamation points.
Nice. Thank you, Mike.
He says, great, Teddy. Thanks for sharing. How much time spend on average with your one-call close?
Great question. So, as you guys can probably tell from this very call that we're on, I'm a bit of a talker, right? I think that there's probably no amount, or there's probably no limit just about to the amount of time that you can put in the rapport part, okay? Rapport is incredibly important. And so when I first get on the phone with someone, especially if it's someone that my VA has put on my calendar for me, I want to make sure that I am absolutely building a rapport with that person and just getting to know them a little bit. Because remember, I'm always looking for that next person that I'm going to start pivoting towards an IUL, okay? And so for me, I'm going to spend 10 minutes just chatting and having a good time with someone on the phone. Little hint for everyone here. If in that 10 minutes that person is so nasty and ugly, I don't want to work with them, I'll tell them I'm not good and I'm not a good fit for them, right?
That's good.
So that's just as much for me as it is for them, right? Is the building of the rapport. Okay. Now from there, I do generally try to keep my appointments to no more than 30 minutes. That is the goal. But I do not have a problem with my calls going out to an hour. I have no problem with that at all. You know, it's going to be more challenging next week. That's for sure. You know, because my schedule is so full. But generally, I am shooting for around a 30-minute call. I spend the first 10 minutes totally okay with it, building rapport, doing that whole thing. I do a little bit of fact-finding just to see, do they have the right amount of insurance that they're covering. And, you know, oftentimes, we've probably all experienced this. You know, sometimes people say, I want $250,000. That's what I want. Okie dokie, Pinocchio. You know, you do whatever you want to, right? And that's what it is. And then I just, you know, go through the questions, right? If it's a underwritten product, you know, I use the speedy ticket, and, you know, that doesn't take but about 10 minutes, you know. If it's a simplified issue, it takes about 15 minutes, you know. So you've got plenty of time there. There's nothing wrong with getting to know the person because persistency is better. You know, everything is better when you have a better client that you're dealing with, right? Because, you know, eventually these people may have to call you, right, and say, you know, I've got an issue with my billing, I want to move the date over, you know, whatever. And I guess some people are a little bit more involved than others in terms of what happens in the aftercare. But it's better to deal with people that are not sucky, you know, for sure. So, yeah, generally, Mike, I try to keep it to around 30 minutes or so, but I'm okay with 60 minutes if that happens.
Awesome.
Appreciate that. And Carlos says, I love your transparency.
Great analogy.
Awesome, Michael.
And then Jim is saying,
are you scheduling the follow-up appointment for the next day?
Great question. Man, Jim, you are on it, bro. So here's the rule of thumb that I have. For anyone who's ever been involved in lead generation online, like I used to do like Facebook leads for final expense. And Michael, I think you and I had talked about that. And man, when a lead would come in, I mean, it would be like, stop everything, hold the phone, I'm getting that dude on the call right now. You know what I mean? Because, final expense lead especially, I mean, it cools off rather quickly, for sure. And so I try to keep that same sense of urgency in scheduling for these follow-up appointments as well, right? My assistant knows to try to schedule them the next day. Now, today is Friday. I've got a really big, busy day planned for tomorrow. We are in the season of Lent. We got Stations of the Cross tonight. I'm doing a lot of volunteering tomorrow with my church, and so I can't schedule anything tomorrow. But usually I would be scheduling the next day. That's the primo spot, is the next day. I usually don't allow her to schedule anything outside of 3 days. And the way I have my calendar set up, Calendly, if you guys are interested in all and what I use the same one that Michael suggests, C-A-L-N or C-A-L-E-N-D-L-Y, Calendly. You can put it as a rolling, it's available for the next 3 days kind of thing, and it always kind of stays out there for the 3 days so your assistant can dial, okay, and schedule into the next 3 days. I very rarely allow anything outside of 3 days. Very rarely allow it. Because if someone doesn't want to schedule within the next 3 days, what does that tell us? They're usually not serious.
They're a squirrel.
Yeah, they're a squirrel. They're not serious, right? I mean, so schedule them in the next 3 days. If they're like, yee-haw, yee-haw, or whatever, chick, 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 the squirrel sound makes, it's not a, if they're not willing to sit down and actually, schedule the conversation, what's the likelihood that in 2 weeks from now that it's going to be just as important, right? It's not going to happen. I have scheduled one appointment out 2 weeks from now. I don't know what's going to happen with that because I haven't been doing this long enough to really see what's going to happen with that. My guess is that it's not going to sell. That's my guess. However, she's going to Jerusalem for Easter, and she's literally going to be out of the country, and so I scheduled it for after that. But that is not generally what I do. Next day is preferred. I don't work on Sundays, so it's the next 3 days is kind of the goal.
Cool.
Cool. Awesome.
All right. Patty says
great call.
Thank you, Patty.
She's talking about
getting some of your recordings.
Carlos Carlos said, hey, you should record that. I was like, that's a great suggestion, Carlos. I wish I knew how to do that. That sounds awesome. You're super smart, Carlos. We should do that.
Yeah, no worries. And then
Jim has a good
question here. He's asking, are you using a Filipino as your VA? And what are you for?
Great question. Okay, perfect. So I started off with a Pakistani named Muhammad. That did not go well. I do not think it had anything to do with being from Pakistan or anything like that. I just really didn't know what I was looking for just yet. He had a super great attitude and just was really great and bubbly on the phone. But, it just for some reason just did not work out. And I was paying him $3 an hour. We just didn't generate very many leads. And then, so I kind of went a little bit more like high end, and I hired someone from the Philippines, and I pay her $6 an hour. And I think really what it boiled down to is I had a good opportunity to do some better training. When I started getting her in front of Michael's videos every single day to train and keep the knife sharp, it kept reminding her of how we're supposed to nail that first opening statement, right? Nail the opening statement, you are 90% there, And so, by keeping her sharp, she's killing it. I don't think you need to do that. I don't think you have to spend $6 an hour. That's what I am spending. I think you can find someone at $3, $4, maybe $5 an hour and do just fine. But I tell you, do not get lost on what $3 to $6 an hour means, okay? Don't be the guy who steps over a $1,000 bill because you have to pick up a $1 bill, okay? Let's do some quick math. And, Michael, you know how I am about the math. I love the math, right? So if I pay my VA, her name is Winnie. If I pay Winnie $6 an hour for a 9-hour day, right? She's making $54 a day times a 5-day work week. It's $270, right? But she put in $10,000 or $9,000 worth of AP. Do you think that's a good investment, Michael?
Absolutely, all day.
Sweet. Awesome. I think you and I are on the same page there. Now, I paid Muhammad $3 an hour times 10 hours a day times 6 days a week. He dialed for 6 days. I paid him $180. Okay? Literally paid him half. And I made 0 AP from him. Which one had a better return on investment? Clearly, Winnie did. It's a no-brainer. Don't be afraid. Okay, this is where fear will start jumping in and just making a home in your head, right? Don't let that happen. Okay, step out in faith because you're doing good work and trust the system. Just step out in faith. Guys, in case you didn't hear it, I quit my job on Friday night. I trained Muhammad on Saturday. We were both dialing for dollars, smiling and dialing on Monday. I went all in and I stepped out on faith. Why? Because my God is a big God who separates oceans for his people, and I believe in Michael. And no matter what kind of glitches we might have along the way, I know that Michael will do everything in his power to make it right and fix it. Okay? Plain and simple. So don't get lost in, oh my gosh, I might have to spend $4 an hour on someone, when what you really should be considering that, man, it's kind of disgusting to even do this math. Divided by 270, like I'm paying 18.5 cents a lead. I mean, everyone needs to stop for just a second and realize I'm paying less than a quarter for a lead to have a conversation with someone. No, excuse me. I got to correct myself again, Michael. It's an appointment. I'm paying 18 cents an appointment because I'm hired someone that's at $6 an hour. There is a huge world of people out there who are, eager to help you and be a great fit for you and your organization and your team. I have recorded some videos that helped in training in addition to what Michael did, because I didn't hire my person and then just let them run off in Aon and University, right? I didn't do that. I have a couple of videos that they watch every day from Aon University, and I have recorded some additional videos that I produce myself to just show them how to log into the dialer and that kind of stuff. And Michael, if any time, man, if you're okay with it, I think I've already sent that to you. If you want to share that, you're welcome to do that. But
yeah, for sure.
At the end of the day, like the content is already there to train them. Everything that they need is already there. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just, step out in faith. I can't say that enough. Life is too short. Life is too short to be so full of fear.
Right.
It's one of the most commonly said things in the Bible. Do not be afraid. Right? Because you know what I know to be true is that this is not a practice run. You will not get to do this thing we called life again. So right now, today, you have the opportunity to make a decision to change tomorrow, to change next week. I get on the dialer every single day except for Sunday. Right? Every day I get on the dialer. I put dials in every day. Now, it may not be 4, 5, 10, 12 hours, but hey, even if I put an hour in, I know that if I sit down, I log in, I put those headphones on, I'm going to generate leads. Right? And now I'm like, I don't have any place to put them, right? I have a different problem. Good problems. Why? Because I'm growing. So I hope I was able to answer that question.
Yeah, that was
an awesome answer. I really appreciate it.
So
I want to encourage anybody, that may have any fear, may have any self-doubt, listen to this recording again over, okay? Listen to what he was saying, listen to his story, and resonate with it, okay? Think in your mind, where am I right now, and where do I want to be? How would your life change if you were able to write over 8,000 AP, right?
In this
short amount of time. Not by pressing one button, right? And just sitting back and making millions, but doing what it takes, right? And whatever it takes. Every obstacle that he had, right? He said, good.
I'm growing. He
welcomes all of the obstacles. He welcomes all of the failures and the setbacks because it gives him the opportunity to get better.
Right.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, lastly, what I want to say is his belief in the system. Right. He completely bought into the system. He quit his job on April 1st, or he quit his job at the March 31st or something, and April 1st was a Monday.
That's right. April 1st is a Monday, like a perfect start,
Yeah.
April 1st, Monday, and that was his first day, like on the dialer, April 12th.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And so, guys, we tell all of you before you join on the frequently asked questions. We say.
The question is,
when can I make my first sale? Tell people you won't make your first sale until you generate at least 100 leads.
That's not true.
So that's
way less, right?
It's way less, right?
It's way less.
And we under-promise and over-deliver in so many different ways.
Absolutely.
Why is that? Because we know we could give you the exact numbers or whatever, but we don't want anybody to have an unrealistic expectation. We would rather it be like, oh shoot,
I just made my
first sale and I only have 15 leads, right? So
I want to encourage
you guys again,
take this
opportunity and really run with it, okay? Be consistent, and put in the work, follow the system, believe. Even if it's blind faith right now, that's okay, right? That's okay. The whole point is to put in the work, do what you got to do, and like I said, we're going to be with you every step of the way, and if there's any problems, glitches, whatever you want to call them, you know what? We're going to help you. Right, and because we're committed to each and every one of you to helping you be successful. But with that being said,
no matter how
hard I try, any of your coach or whoever tries,
at the end of the day,
if you don't work, this won't work.
Oh man, that's right.
You have to put in your part, 120%. Right, of your part, and once you do that, then we can help you, right, and we can really help you. But doesn't matter how great this opportunity is, right? If you don't work, you're going to make a zero.
Right. That's. Yeah. And I'm right there with you, Michael. You said something that was, I get what you're doing, right? You have to be safe. You're in a very different situation than I am. You're the big chief. I'm not, right? But I want to encourage everyone that's on this call, and I hope I'm not overstepping my my position here, but step out in faith, right? I did not generate 100 leads before I got my first sale. I think I generated the official number. I'm looking at it right now. I generated 4 leads before I got my first sale. 4 leads. Guys, just get in the pool. Do the Michael Phelps thing, right? Michael one time on a call said, hey, if Michael Phelps would get up every single morning, and there'd be days he did not want to train, but he knew if he just got in the pool, he would do something. Just get in the pool, right? Get on the dialer. Outsmart your dumb self. And I don't mean that in an ugly way. I mean that with love. But outsmart the person that you don't want to be, right, by just getting in the game. Get on the dialer. Put the headphones on. If you flub up, one and done. That hotkey thing, Michael, was genius. I think you're going to get like a Nobel Peace Prize for that. That's genius, right? Honestly, I mean, it's the greatest thing for building confidence to be able to have someone on the other line and just hit a simple button, hangs up on it, and goes to the next person. Nothing better than that. You feel uncomfortable right then? One and done. You flub up the opener? One and done. You don't like the name? One and done. You don't like the accent? One and done. Move on. Swing, 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 and you will knock a grand slam eventually. Get in the pool. Get up to the plate. I don't know if you could tell I was an athlete. Like, you got to get in the game. I had a great conversation with someone earlier this week, and that conversation, I think, hopefully was eye-opening for him, because what I told him is be careful on who you allow to swim in your head, because at the end of the day, if you just get in the game, you can win this. I am not special. I had just about every disadvantage you could have. I have a felony. I have a probation officer. I've got to check in weekly. I am in a difficult situation in my life. I am just now getting to the place where I'm not living in my car and I'm not living in a jail. And not to sound cliche, but if I can do this, you can do this.
Oh, that's inspiring, man.
I really
appreciate you being so transparent and willing to share, everything, because, this is definitely going to help a lot of people. Not only live people that are on the call right now, but, in the future. You're inspiring, thousands of people right now, man. And, what goes around comes around, and I think that, you're going to receive a double blessing.
Thank you.
For sure. And, you're good people, man. We're glad to have you. I just want to encourage everybody, if you thought that this call was impactful, if you enjoyed this, if you got one little nugget, I want you to go into Slack, and I want you to comment. Okay? Comment anything, right? And we just want to encourage the motivation and everything like that. So go ahead and throw that in Slack, and we will end the call with that. So once again, thank you so much, Teddy, for transparent, for coming on.
Awesome, thank you.
We're blessed to have you as part of the company, and we're excited here for the future.
Nice. Yeah, guess what? Jim O'Donnell just posted in Slack right now. How much is a second seat on the dialer cost if I want to hire a VA? That is what I'm talking about, Jim. Step out in faith. Get it done, man. Get it done.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it.
That's awesome.
All right, you guys.
All right, you guys.
Take care.
You guys take care.
See you guys on
Bye.
See you guys on the dialer. Bye-bye.